she's going to have a target on her back, but I just think she's going to be too good for them.
He is this sort of horse they've always looked to as a Derby horse. Started over 7, bolted up at Sandown.
Again, I'm willing to take on Aidan's horses. I just think.
Hello and welcome back to the Only Fools Love Horses YouTube channel. It's a big week this week. A lot should be made out of Epsom Racecourse having the Derby and the Oaks on this weekend. Yes, it's a huge weekend for racing. We've got Royal Ascot coming up. We've got Glorious Goodwood. Through the season, we all make a big hype about Cheltenham Festival. But there really should be something quite special about attending Epsom Racecourse for the Oaks and Derby this weekend, or even just watching it on the TV. In this video, we're going to preview the 3 main races, the Coronation Cup, the Epsom Oaks, and of course the Epsom Derby on the Saturday. Go for our best fancies, horses to follow, and maybe some horses to avoid as well. Gentlemen, I really like the Derby. It's such a special race course, such a special race. The Jockey Club may have their logistical issues with Epsom, but to have the Epsom Derby there every year is such a special race. Lee, look, I'm looking forward to this weekend. As you can probably tell by the intro there, are you looking forward to it?
Yeah, absolutely love the Derby. I put a post on, look, just about some memories of mine, and it kind of really set me alight into loving racing. And I did show me age because I'll never forget it, because I had my first pound on the Derby and my first pound on the National in the same year, and they both won. I'll not reveal the year, but yeah, look, it was. Yeah, just some great memories. I think it's a great race. I think it's one we should save. And we've got the dash, which I absolutely love. I know you love it, Ash. The dash is there. You've got Coronation, what we'll get on to. We've got a great weekend, really, because even the likes of a Dovecote, I really like that. You've just got to be on the button with them ones. If you're behind, it's hard to come claw them back. And and the Oaks as well. So yeah, look, plenty gets stuck into and plenty of love.
Yeah, look, I'm looking forward to it. I went did my first Derby in 2021 potentially, and that's when Tony Carroll, obviously mentioned him on the video. He had a runner that year, and it was sort of waiting to see if I could get a ticket with a spare one going. There was a spare one going. Went in 2022 and 2023. In 2022, I didn't have a bet in the Derby, but I just sort of got swept up by the whole emotion of Desert Crown sort of storming to the front and just started cheering his name with not even a single penny on. So look, I really enjoy the race, and like you said, the Epsom Dash. Caspian Prince is my favourite memory of Derby Day, winning his first dash for Tony Carroll and Luke Morris. Harry, you just had a stint watching another classic over in France in Chantilly. How was that, first of all? And look, we're going from one classic to another, so it's a good time to be a racing fan.
Oh no, it's brilliant, and I know we're Jumps fans, but actually the last few weeks I've really, especially going to France, I've really started enjoying the flat more. Not as much as the Jumps, and I'm sure when the Persian War comes around, I'm sure it's gonna change again. But it really is the weather was gorgeous in France. It was just a great experience. First time to Chantilly, bumped into Gunfred's Sam Hart. I bumped into. He's a good lad. He's obviously started a new job with the back with the Racing Post now. But it was just seeing Camille Pissarro and seeing we were in a bar with a few of the stable staff, and after racing, and they were saying how much they love the English coming over and the British coming over. So I think it's something that we don't really see. It was a massive day in Chantilly, the Prix de Jockey Club, and apparently the Oaks is even bigger in 2 weeks' time. But really looking forward to going to my first Epsom Derby on Saturday. It should be a blast.
Good man, get the top and tails out. Quick plug for last week's video, Lee. I think you gave a good shout to Camille Pissarro in the Prix Jockey Club, and a bit of Ryan Moore magic got him home. So that was nice to watch, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. I think me and you had mentioned. I think between the three, we said Camille Pissarro entertain, and I think there were 1-3. And the other, one was drawn on the inside, one was on the outside, kind of thing, coming down the street. Ryan masterclass. Look, it's just, he is the GOAT. I have no doubt about it. He's the best.
100%, completely agree. So this week, similar time frame we're looking for the videos, short and snappy, but we're not going to do any reviewing or sort of looking ahead to anti-post wise. We're just going to focus on Epsom Derby weekend, the 3 Group 1 races, and then anything else if we have anything else. So we're going to kick on with the Coronation Cup on the Friday, the first Group 1 on the weekend. Llanfihangin is a very warm order at the top of the market, 11 to 8 on. Jan Bruegel 4 to 1, Givolotto 7s, You Got to Me 8s, Alrifa 16s, Ancient Wisdom 25, same price as Bellum Justin, recent Newmarket winner, and Continuous 6 to 1. Huge price considering what he was doing a couple of seasons ago. Look, I'll go Lee first of all. Llanfihangin, very, very good horse. Lots of good form in the book. Is he your idea of the Coronation Cup winner?
Yes, he is, to answer that question, but it's not a race that I punt in. Look, he returns. I don't know what to make out of these maiden runs. There's a few horses that have come back that just don't quite perform. We did see the weekend there was an audience or whatever. Like, there's a few that don't always perform. Not be one for me that I'd get steaming into. There's a few dangers, but look, his to lose. To be honest, he has the form from last season, and second unlucky maybe. Let's say to Anmat, who performed well last time out, went second as well. Across the second Los Angeles there, at the Curragh in the Tax Lords Gold Cup, Anmat. So kind of frank that form, but yeah, look, it is his to lose. Would I bet? No, is the answer.
Fair enough. I was on mute there. Yeah, like he's a short enough price, isn't he now? But
Yeah.
he does obviously have that good form in the book with Anmat from the Champion Stakes. Harry, what do you make of the Coronation Cup? Anything standing out to you?
Yeah, I probably said Jan Buregel's a decent enough price. Look, he was a big baby, wasn't he? Even when he won the St Ledger last year, he still looked green as grass, which is pretty remarkable. And yes, it was obviously disappointing that he got beat in the Group 3 at the Curragh last time, but I don't think he lost too much in defeat. He
I think he lost plenty. I'm not going to lie. I'm going to play devil's advocate. I think he lost plenty in defeat. I thought that was a shock out of a race and he should have won it.
Yeah, he should have won it. I understand. I get that, but I do just think he is this one big work in progress, and I think if he goes from the front, or if he just bowled along, I think he could establish. Llanfihangin gonna have one go at him, and that'll be late on, and I think that's how Mikel Barcelona will ride him. He was obviously unlucky at Maidan last time. He was kind of coming from the back. He kind of was weaving in and out, and he probably should have won. The winner in is it the Japanese horse that was that won the race? I don't actually know the name of it, but remembering watching him back, he kind of got first run, and that was kind of Murder She Wrote, I suppose. But I think Jan Bruegel is I think he's a very classy horse. Like he's a classic winner in his own right. At Goodwood, I always remember, even though he beat Bellum Justin by a neck, he was, if they could have gone round another mile, and he'd still beat him. So I think Jan Bruegel is 4 to 1. I think is a big price because he could just get an easy way out in front and could be tough to get back.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Look, I think Llanfihang's probably the most likely winner here, but I think there's one at a big price in this. I think Alrifa is a huge price, 16s. Just think that they've targeted in the last 2 years. They've gone to the Prix Gannes, his first run of the season, and he's run fine races every time. But like again, first run of the season. Well, this year's a bit different because it's his first run since he ran in the Neom Turf Cup, which was 64 days before. So he maybe a touch fresher than he was last year because last year it was his first run of the year. But I still think he would have. He went over for the Neom Turf. He went all the way over to Riyadh. He would have come back. He would have settled down. He had got out of his work. Then he would have gone back into work and to build him back up. So it's not like he's been kept on the go to keep his race fitness. I thought he ran a big race that day. And look, the form of the Gannet, I do think is a strong piece of form this year. Sosi obviously won the race. He's going to have a good chance going forward in some top Group 1 contests going forward. But he's already won a Group 1 subsequently. He went to win the Prix Dispan, beating Sardinian Warrior. The second Map of Stars looks like a pretty sharp horse. Real Rhyme was in third. He went on to finish 5th behind Los Angeles in the Tats Gold Cup. The likes of Calpana in there as well, and Mart as well. Good form line in to Llanfihangin. Horizon Doors in 5th. So that's a really nice standard as well. I think that's a pretty decent form, and he's going to build on that race fitness-wise, hopefully, coming back over to the UK. Just looking through some other bits of form, like he started in 2023, starting the international stakes, Group 3 at the Curragh, and then improved massively for the run to go and finish second to 8 Impact over in France in the Group 2. So again, race fitness coming on his side there. Last year he went over to America, so I can kind of discount the race fitness angle there. And then he went on just a month later. He came back for the Coral Eclipse, finished second to City of Tron soft ground, which probably wasn't for him. He does like it slightly top of the ground, ahead of Ghostwriter, ahead of See the Fire. See the Fire's bolstered up subsequently this season. I think there's a lot to like about Al Riffa. I do think he wants sort of this top end of the ground. He's fairly ground versatile, but I think just because they campaigned him in America sometimes and in Riyadh, connections obviously think he does like that slightly top end of the ground. I think he's a huge price, and he'd be my each way angle into this. So Al Riffa, 16s, Joseph O'Brien. Hopefully this has been...
Who did Joseph win this race with when he rode?
I'm staying out of this because I was watching. I was probably still in a pram.
No, I wouldn't know. I wouldn't know.
No, I'm joking.
St. Nicholas Abbey, was it?
Yeah, I'll tell you a word for it. I'll be able to find out in a second anyway. I was a jumps man through and through for many of my formative years in racing and barely knew much about flat racing apart from the odd Tony Carroll runner here and there. So anything before about 2021's a big black spot for me. We'll rock on. The Epsom Oaks, then, the first classic of the weekend. And look, it's an interesting race because we haven't got to the final confirmations yet. When this video comes up, as we're recording this on Tuesday evening, but when we upload this on Wednesday morning, and sort of for 2 hours, we won't have confirmations. But then at 10 a.m. on Wednesday morning, we'll have final field confirmations for it. There's only just the 9 runners currently, but the betting is as follows on screen. Desert Flower is 5-4, Mini Hawks 9-2, Giselle 7-1, Whirl is 15-2, Revoir's 10-1, Elbertine is 12-1. We Might Take the Long Way is 20s, Killing Queen 25s, and Go Go Boots 6-6s. Harry, firing back over to you. Desert Flower could be going on for a nice little 1,000 guineas and Oaks double. Has to step up in trip. First time at this distance. What do you fancy?
Yeah, look, you'd be hard to take. I think it'd be silly to take her on. I just think that she is just a classy act, isn't she? She did the donkey work for all of them in the Guineas, and she had a target on her back for quite a long time. And what I would say is the draw, I think, is going to be key of seeing where the O'Brien runners are. That's going to be, obviously, they've got if I'm right in saying they've got a 2-hour gap, haven't they, where Ryan can decide to choose who he decides to ride. But I do think, obviously, Lee, we did mention just before this that Ryan may be riding Mini Hawk. Mini Hawk. I said Mini Hawk then. But no, I think Desert Flower, she's very, very versatile in the way that I think you can ride her wherever. I wouldn't be surprised if William Buick would be quite happy to take a lead, take it up, and I just think, she's going to have a target on her back, but I just think she's going to be too good for them. Would I be diving in at 5-4 all the skinny odds that she is? Probably not. Just because you don't know what the O'Brien horses are going to do. They're going to have some sort of plan. We saw it in the French Derby, where they had Trinity College to get the pacemaker, and Ryan just basically followed him. But it's a brave route, but it paid off. So yeah, I'd say if you put a gun to my head, I think Desert Flower is the best horse in the race, but I wouldn't be diving in at the price. It's just at this current stage.
Fair enough, Lee. What do you make of the Oaks at this stage? Are you thinking Desert Flower will seamlessly make the step up in trip, or are you looking slightly elsewhere?
She's the best horse in this race. I'm kind of strong with that opinion as well. But the trip, look, like Harry mentioned, she done the donkey work in the Guineas. She was into the teeth of the wind, and she had to, kind of do it the hard way and the gritty way. And I don't think she was coming back. I think the trip will be fine. I kind of strong to say that she is the best in the yard. She had that form last season that stood out a mile. She won the Guineas. Look, it's hard to say I'll beat, to be honest. Mini Hawk, look, has to step up. Gazelle won an egg and spoon race, 3-runner race. The two others are absolute bad horses, and they're really bad horses. They were one of them was tailed off there the other day in a handicap, shocking, and that was just nothing. That was a piece of work. These are all trails for Aiden, and he mopped them up. But actually, they're no more than a kind of jog around, some of them. So yeah, look, Will won well last time out. The way it is, Mini Hawk is the one that Ryan's going to choose. And look, I wouldn't dismiss the like a Killer Queen or a Go Boots to the rank outsiders to step forward and grab a place as well. I like Gazelle, I do, but all said and done, I'm just finding it hard to get away from it. Desert Flower, stick with the best in the race, and yeah, look, the step up and trip. I watched the Guineas back a couple of times. I thought she went through the lane strongly. I'll stick with her.
Fair enough. Fair enough. I kind of want to take her on. She's a bit of an unknown.
I did, but I kept coming back around. Well, like it's just like, what do you take of her? In there, Ash, there's just they're so open where they could step forward so much, and she's entitled to do so. That was her first run as well, but like this season. But it's like, what do you then like? Look, give her the case. What do you take her on with?
And she's miles clear on ratings as well. She's out. She's if she gets the trip, then which, like you said, Lee, there's nothing to suggest in her running style that she won't get the trip.
Yeah. I think it's an interesting renewal this year. I don't think it's a great renewal. First and foremost, and you look through the last 10-year winners, I think 2 horses were raced in the high 90s when they won this. The rest of them were mainly rated in the sort of low 100s, and you had the bigger horses, Soul Sister recently, who was rated 113. But I do think this is open to potentially a horse who is rated in the 90s to maybe step up. The one I've been on to for a while is Killing Queen. I'm not going to desert her now. I think she can run on into a place. I thought she was really good at Newbury when having to seriously do the donkey work out on the front line. She was there to be shot at. She held them off well. The second Revoir, who does reoppose, and I wouldn't be surprised to see her reverse the form, is half sister to Nashua or sister to Nashua. So she's got the pedigree there. And Killing Queen beat her. I think Ed Walker was really quite pleased with how she ran at Newbury, and she's expecting her to win. He was expecting her to win the Pretty Polly, and she didn't because it was the first run of the season. I think she's a big price, Killing Queen. The other one I want to mention, and it could be a double for Joseph O'Brien in the Group 1s, We Might Take the Long Way is extremely interesting because she beat Minnie Hawk by 2 lengths very comfortably on her second start of her career, and then ran behind Trinity College, who was 4th in the French Derby recently at Leopardstown on soft ground in October. She didn't really look like a stayer last season. She maybe just slightly didn't appreciate 10 furlongs, but then she came back this year and won a Group 3 in April over 10 furlongs and stayed on through the line pretty nicely. She has the form with Delacroix, who we're going to talk about in the Derby from the Ballysacks. I think she's very interesting at a big price. And then I will just mention Minnie Hawk. I just think I love her pedigree. She's bifrancal. She's out of a horse called Multilingual, who is half sister Kingman. Being out of Multilingual makes her a half sister Tilsit, who won a Group 2. I think she's got a fantastic pedigree. I actually really like what she did at Chester. She's probably one of the more impressive trial winners I've seen from Aidan O'Brien all season. And if you want to look at a piece of form, like Caspi Star was in 3rd, I think she's quite nifty for the Johnstons. She might go to the Irish Oaks. I wouldn't put her off in the Irish Oaks at about 100 to 1. I'm not nailing my colours to the mast on one, saying this is an absolute certainty, but if I'm having a bet at this stage, I think it's going to be Killing Queen, and We Might Take the Long Way. Both play them small stakes each way. I can see why you fancy Desert Flower. Can't put you off, but maybe just the form of the 1,000 guineas is maybe slightly in the back of my mind as potentially something that could be wrong. But look, it's a very open race. It's not a. I don't think there's one sort of true standout, and it's a fairly open contest in my eyes anyway. Right, rock on then. The Epsom Derby, the big one of the weekends. Again, like Harry mentioned it there in the Oaks preview, it is going to be sort of dependent on draw. And the draw is going to be a massive thing, and we'll sort of get that in the next couple of days when they do that. But we are doing this blind without the draw, so take that into account. But Delacroix 3 to 1, topping the market. Ruling Court, the 2,000 guineas winner, is 4 to 1. Pride of Our Ass is 5s. The Line in Winter is 7s. Damsonas is 14s. Lambourne 16s. Stanhope Gardens is 16s. Midac, the French run, is 18s. 25 to 1. Bar. Lee, I'll come back over to you. Market switch between Delacroix and the Line in Winter over the last couple of weeks. Looks like Ryan Moore might be picking Delacroix. What's happened to the Line in Winter? Who knows? What do you make of the Derby?
Well, look, simply put, the Line in Winter was so disappointing in the Dante that you could not choose Delacroix. Delacroix won I think it was the Derrenstown or whatever it was. Form worked out well. Won, that race last time out. Look, won well at the lane. There's just a little bit of if for me, and it's almost a case of it's Aidan O'Brien, it's Ryan Moore, installing favourite. That's how I kind of see it. Look, all said and done, I'm taking with a few in here. I'll mention them and maybe kind of home in on the weekend on my Saturday show of final selection of babies. But one I really do like is Damasus. Big, massive, like white face, like gorgeous horse it is. Come home well at Sandown, come home well in the Dante to finish second. And had a spin round Epsom, I do believe, as well. In them, is it the Breakfast with Stars? Do they still call it that? I don't know if they still call it that or not.
It is. Well, kind of, yeah.
I think he was the one that worked with Nate Walker, if I believe right. And he took me eye. I'm going off memory here, but I'm sure he's the one. But anyways, look, the form of the Dante is kind of where I'm homing in on. Pride of Aris, I love. I watched back the run at Sandown, just burst to the front, kick clear, no danger at all once got going. And the same again, once it got going in the Dante, like put distance between them. Damasus was the one who was chasing them down, but Pride of Aris, I just had plenty more on the lock. I thought Russell Ryan kept him snug and just won it at the lane. Seeing that he was the winner, that was it. Party over basically. That's the form line I'll be going down. There's a few in here. Unlike the Oaks, I think the Oaks is wide open away from the favourite, whereas they could step forward. I don't know so much could in here. The Lion in Winter is definitely going to need to from that Dante run is so disappointing, but free enough. And keen on return. The vibe was that he's going to need the run. That's how it worked out. You've got the Guineas winner, ruling court as well. Look, beat Field of Gold. That form's been franked. He's bolted up in the Irish Guineas. But he's got to then step up the distance as well. The same as the filly there, Desert Flower. The two of them have got to step up and trip in that. I don't know, just something about him less so in the step up would I'd be less keen than taking Desert Flower to step it up and take it properly. Like I say, look, all said and done, Pride of Aris, definitely the one I'll be homing in on. Damasus as well, I think is a fair enough price each way. And again, I'm willing to take on Aidan's horses. I just think this year there might be I'm definitely probably going to look foolish because I've said that. I remember saying that a couple of years ago, August Rodin, and Harry was like, no, this will win. He did win. I was disappointed. But whereas they two come from the Guineas, City of Troy and August Rodin have come from the Guineas and disappointed on their first run back in that. These ones, I just think they're different. We're kind of no more where the likes of a Delacroix is. He won his race in his trail. The Lion in Winter, disappointed, but I don't know. Look, all said and done, I like the form of the Dante. Pride of Aris is a horse I really like. Win, lose, or draw today. Only had 2 runs. One to keep an eye on, I would have said. And Damasus, I think the two of them I'll take against the field.
Fair enough. I'm with you on Damasus. I thought he ran a huge race in the Dante, and I thought he was given sort of plenty enough to do, sort of tried to work him out as a bit of a work in progress kind of horse. And I think they did quite a lot of working out on the job, stayed on nicely, settled in well. I think he would have been a lot closer, if not potentially getting a nose in front if he'd been positioned slightly more forward through the field.
I disagree with that. I'm not going to lie.
I just think he was given so much to do from the rear of the field, and he's staying on massively at the line. I think in a derby where you get a touch more distance to work with, and that he will hopefully stay, and you can settle him now. And he's sort of learning on the job. His mind's getting there. I think you can be a bit more aggressive with him.
He's a big fella, mind Dash. He's a big one, for this. The undulations of Epsom in that slant, let's say. He is a big fella, mine, but I just think he's got plenty of class and he's come home well in a couple of races. Like,
definitely, yeah. Well, look, the Dante is obviously a good trial, and I think the one for me from that race is Damascus a bit of an each way prize. Harry, what do you make of the Derby?
Yeah, I take your points, but there's one. I think Pride of Arrows is definitely the one that I will want to be on. But I think there's a horse in here that's finished behind Delacroix, and I just think the signs were never right.
Stanhope
The horse.
Gardens.
No, Tennessee stood for
Oh,
Joseph. Now Aiden's. I think it was Joseph's mother. Yeah, so Joseph's mother bred the horse. Um, and I just think that, as silly as this sounds, it might just be like a poignant kind of success. Joseph's not got many, I think he's only got one or maybe a couple in here that are entered. But I just think this horse showed enough to think that he's far too big of a price at 66s or around that mark. He was only around 4 5 lengths behind Delacroix. Never really looked like he was going to get involved. The front two kind of went clear, and then they kind of chased Delacroix home really pretty much. But I thought this horse showed quite a bit last year, finishing behind the likes of Run Hot as Hell, albeit there's no such thing as an easy Group 1. Well, he did win an easy Group 1. He won a 3-runner race at St. Cloud, and it was that was a pig of a race, but a Group 1 winner in his own right. And I just think 66 is far too big. Go back to Pride of Arrows. I think so much focus was put on the line in winter that day that no one really paid any attention to the others. And I thought what Pride of Arrows did for such an inexperienced horse, that'd be my only downfall. By the way, I think that'd be my only worry about going to Epsom. You could have a bad draw, and that could could ruin his chances. That's like all of them, I suppose. But I just think 66s. I think Tennessee Stud's a big price.
do you think? But is he going to be? Look, he's still owned by the lads. Like regardless, they'll do whatever they need to do to help the main protagonists of like Delacroix or whatever. Will he try and do a serpentine, or will he try and do like a Wings of Eagles come from the back?
I don't know, because he's never really been one to kind of go and make all. I mean, he won at Tipperary, he won a maiden where he pretty much did, but his run at St. Cloud, he just kind of sat in behind and then picked off the leader, and that was away he went really. But I think with a more prominent ride, I think if he gets a good draw, I think obviously Dylan Brown McMonagle, I think will be on, and I think he knows the horse. Could just be Lee, like we always say. Wait for the extra places. I think this horse could just be an extra place horse.
Tell you, we're on commission for Joseph O'Brien here today, aren't we? We've mentioned 3 of his horses in the 3 Group 1s. I think we're definitely putting some confidence on him. Yeah, we've mentioned plenty of horse there. The one that's the win profile for me is Ruling Court, 2,000 guineas winner. I different way to Desert Flower. I think that he's just got so much class, and look, the Field of Gold form line is right there. He stayed on through the line massively at HQ. I thought he travelled as well, and the one thing you got to do at Epsom is travel. These horses who can win over 7, can win over 8. They can handle Epsom quite nicely, because you don't want those sort of slow ledger type horses that are going to be sort of off the bridle early, staying on round Tatnam Corner, but they're already 6 lengths back. You want those horses that do have to turn a foot to be there, to be in the mix, to be traveling on the bridle as they come around Tatnam Bend, and then they go for it. Like they get a nice toe into the race, coming down the hill, going around the bend, and then they just stay on through the line. He'll travel. I'm almost certain of that. He is this sort of horse they've always looked to as a Derby horse. Started over 7, bolted up at Sandown, went behind the line in winter in the ACOM. That was on rapid, quick ground, and probably turned into a bit of a sprint test. He's won in Maidan over 8. He's obviously won the Guineas. The form line is really striking there. And like you look for his family. Like his family stayed 1 mile 2, 1 mile 4. I don't think they have concerns about staying him, to be honest. And I think he's the one for me. I think they've always thought of him more as a Derby horse than they did think of him as a Guineas horse, and they kind of won the Guineas, and that was a real big bonus. And now they can go on to the Derby, which is kind of they're always they always thought this was going to be the horse for it. And if they win this, then we've got a real special, hopefully special story in potentially going for a Triple Crown later on in the season. So,
just a quick thing on that. William Buick says he has no doubt the two of them, the Desert Flower and Ruling Court, will stay. He has no doubt.
That's good to hear. That's good to hear. Derby gents, 1, 2, 3. Let's have it. It's a big race. We do it for some of these big races like the National and stuff. I'll put mine forward. I'll put Ruling Court. I'll put Damsus, the Fade Eggleston and Westland Racing Horse, and then probably Stanhope Gardens for the third. For me. Lee, 1, 2, 3 Derby.
Pride of Aris, Damascus, Ruling Court.
Lovely. Harry.
Pride of Aris, Delacroix, and Tennessee Stud.
There you go. Mentioned plenty there. Righto. Well, I'm going to chuck anything else out there, gents. I have some to talk about. Only the two. I'll leave it to either of you two if you do have anything, but I'll just mention them very quickly. Depending on what the ground will be like for the Princess Elizabeth, I think it probably is going to be on the quicker ground. But if Damanusier chances Serona in the Princess Elizabeth on Derby Day, I think she might have a bit of a chance. She's got some really nice pieces of form from last season. She is a Group 1 filly, I'm pretty sure. And it doesn't tend to be an amazing race. I think she could be too good, and she's had a run this season to bring her on race fitness wise. She's about 7-1. If the ground isn't rattling quick, which I don't think it will, we've had touch of rain this week. Don't think there's meant to be too much more, but if it's not rattling quick, I think if she does take a chance, she could be a bit of an each way play. And in the Diomed Stakes, Docklands is about 7-4. I can see him winning. I think he should have won last time out, and he was really, really unlucky. He'll come on for it, and yeah, I think he's a very worthy favourite in the Diomed. Anything else, gents? No.
Crack on.
Smashing. Well, we'll have more to talk about on a Saturday show this weekend, 10:30 a.m. Make sure to tune in there. From wherever we are in the country, Harry will probably be in Epsom, near Epsom, wherever he is staying or on the way. We'll be talking about that 10:30 a.m.
Just keep sending Harry to different dogs.
That's it. Keep sending you around the place, Harold.
Keep going and just keep. I just love travelling. To be fair, that's it. Have Whistle will travel.
There you go. So 10:30 a.m. on Twitter on Saturday morning. We're back then. If you did enjoy, please do like and subscribe. If you're having play on any fancies, please do it responsibly. But until then, we'll see you very, very soon.